Shifting gears to our next guest, who was almost like 7 years ago. When I saw it, I'd already heard of him, but then I saw it in the Toronto Star. Some of it was confirmed. I had him on. More's been confirmed since then. I appreciate him coming on during a heavy news day. We pushed him back some. We're going to have him back on again soon. 28 mass graves of Indian children in Canada discovered. Daily Kos picked this up in 2008 when it was being reported by the local news channels there. And again, it ties into the British government yet again. And joining us on the show is Kevin Annett. Hope I'm pronouncing that right. He's been on before, and we appreciate you coming on. itccs.org, itccs.org. And maybe Nancy Pelosi can come pick some of those kids up and keep them at her house, the little skeletons, because, you know, she says she wants to take the illegals with her, but doesn't really take them. It's all talk. And Clinton keeps half the money for the African kids and the Haitian kids for himself to buy jets with, but nobody criticizes him for that. Well, an inquiry is now starting, as folks have been. Sir, thank you so much for your tireless work the last decade to expose this. Tell us the latest and how this ties into what I see as the, whatever's running it, governments are obsessed with annihilating small children.
That's Alex. Thanks for having me on. It has to do with the second round of common law trials happening in Brussels. The first one is when we convicted Joseph Ratzinger, Pope Benedict, in 2013. The second round of trials has to do with global child trafficking, and the present Pope, Jorge Bergoglio, is named as the primary defendant because he was doing it both in Argentina and today. What we found in the course of 4 years coming forward is there's a thing called the Ninth Circle. It's a sacrificial cult that operates with Catholic Church sanction. It has for actually over 2 centuries, according to some Vatican documents that have been given to the court. And this rituals, they operate all through Europe and North America with a lot of police and army protection. We have now links as well to Ireland. The Garda and the Irish police informed us the 800 babies' bodies that you mentioned were actually signs of decapitation and dismemberment, which are classic satanic, sacrificial symptoms. And so, it's all beginning to come together into a global network that's involving, once again, these people fairly high up in the Vatican and the Crown of England.
Well, this is just amazing. And again, today we got short on time. I don't want to shortchange you. I want to reschedule a full hour with you, and you can send us all the exhibits, and I can properly get briefed on all the latest stuff that's happened to do justice to this. It's just that so many times, I remember what you were saying, 8, 9 years ago, and then a lot of it came out in the newspapers, and it just gets worse and worse, and you're now saying via your lawsuits and things, you've gotten documents from where? I've never heard of a secret society called the Ninth Circle. I know there's Dante's Inferno, and the Ninth Circle of Hell, but I mean, that is just, I know there's a lot of cults within organizations. Tell us about the Ninth Circle.
Well, these are referred to not only by witnesses who are participants and, people who have been raised in the cult, but also a document released in the last month to the court. This was from a Vatican insider. The document was in Latin, and it was in the secret archives, the same archives that contained the policy called Crimen Solicitanus, which requires priests to cover up child rape. It was in the same archive, and it makes reference to this Ninth Circle going as far back as the 1700s, and definitely tied in to various popes at that time. Now, these have been confirmed by fairly top-level sources within the church who have come forward now because there's a factional struggle breaking out within the Vatican. You've noticed that the present Pope has canceled 3 speaking engagements and has talked about health concerns. He's probably being forced out as well because Ratzinger is very much still holding the reins of power there, according to these Roman sources. So it's all connected to that. And like any secret society, these things are very well hidden. But the point is insiders are now beginning to speak. And just as in the case that where we proved genocide in Canada, that's now beginning to happen, on a more global level now.
And again, the reason for my research that Satanism keeps popping up in orphanages of every stripe around the world is, where do you think Satanist pedophiles, sickos are going to go? They're going to go where they have institutional protection to engage in these crimes. They start the crimes slow, get the local constabulary to be part of the cover-up. Once they're compromised, it goes full eyes wide shut. And, I mean, look at what's come out with Savile in England and the Royals. And I remember when you were on, correct my memory, but 2007, 2008, you were bringing up the fact the British royalty, you believe, was tied into this and did make visits to some of these mass grave areas?
We had an eyewitness who saw Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip take 10 children from the Kamloops Indian School in British Columbia in 1964. And these 10 children were never seen again. William Coombs was his name. He was to come to London to testify, but then he died very suddenly in a hospital after apparently receiving a lethal injection. That was in February 2011. But, you know, this is ongoing. We've had 6 people within our network killed in this manner, Aboriginal people, because they started naming the names of these, you know, very high-up people who come to these places for kids.
Well, I mean, expanding on this, some of this has come out in the Canadian papers, and the mass graves have been dug up at these orphanages, and then they just keep finding more. I mean, that's been in the news. But when you look at all this, what do you think of hundreds of thousands of undocumented kids? They won't let congressmen into the facilities, and they're being disappeared on buses. I mean, that's illegal under all the child laws anyways, and a lot of them, they admit, have been mules. From your deep research into this, what do you think? I mean, does it concern you that hundreds of thousands of kids are disappearing into bizarre, secret federal networks?
Well, yeah, I mean, of course, it's the more and more what we do now that we have these common law courts established, we're adjudicating these matters. You can't rely on any aspect of the system because child trafficking is enormous. It operates in every institution, especially in the so-called child welfare system, as you were mentioning earlier. And so you have to set up a parallel way to investigate and to bring these things to courts that are not controlled by the cabal, which all of these clearly are. I mean, it's been my experience over 20 years now that any aspect of the system you try to work through, you compromise your research because it's immediately shut down. We've had that experience time again in Canada.
Well, all I know is, I mean, if you look at the British papers, this is all coming out there. Satanism, killing children, raping them, secret rooms. And one article said 40 members of parliament last week I saw have been implicated, but the police can't get them because it'll bring the whole government down because they're obviously involved.
You are watching the best of the Alex Jones Show, weekdays from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Central. Watch live at Infowars.com/show or become a member of InfoWarsNews.com and help us take resistance to the next level.